Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, everyone. Baba Kilindi here, bringing you the Entheogenic Explorer program on Blog Talk Radio. Thanks a lot for coming out and listening. We appreciate you being part of what we're doing and what we're trying to put forth. The show is getting better and better each time. We're slowly but surely putting together our schedule of guests who will be on the show with us. We're going to be bringing in some wonderful guests off the beaten path, not the usual suspects, people who you probably haven't heard before, which is good because we get a chance to hear a lot of the same folks with a lot of the same information, and nobody's really pressing the envelope as far as information is concerned. So we're going to get the folks who are actually doing the do and making things happen and exploring themselves rather than just reporting other people's experiences. So glad to have you on the Entheogenic Explorer program, where we try to be in a position to give information out that is of a hallucinogenic, psychedelic, and entheogenic nature, and that gives everybody a chance to get in. So now that we're becoming a little more sophisticated with our controls and things here, we can bring people who call in. We can bring them in to ask questions and things like that. So the last half hour of the show, we're going to take some questions, and we're going to answer some questions and give everybody a chance to call in and ask their questions and things. This evening's show, Traveling with Your Partner, is a little different from what you may have been hearing me talk about, because I always talk about traveling alone. And when you're doing the real work, you can, you have to do it alone by yourself when you're doing that self work. But then there's if you have a partner and you're lucky enough for that partner, wife, husband, whatever, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, when you have a partner, you want them to be included in something that you're interested in you're doing. And it's really good, and it's really a special couple when they can travel entheogenically together and be as one in the journey. In other words, going to the same place at the same time as one, like living in each other's consciousness. You don't have to talk or say anything because you're both in each other's heads communicating, and you're actually experiencing what your partner is thinking. So you kind of like become your partner, and your partner kind of like becomes you, and you all become one, which is henosis, which is the true marriage, or the becoming of one flesh, or really is the becoming of one consciousness, where you ingest the same dose. You may be both laying down in the bed, or you may be in a outdoor setting. You may be out in nature or something like that, and you are ingesting at the same time and same doses and exploring and moving through the multiverse as one entity. And we'll talk a little bit about group trips also, which is something that is and all of these different categories you should explore and experience. It's not just with me, the high dose. Sometimes you take smaller doses for communion with nature, for hooking into your surroundings, being able to explore, not on a super crazy level, but on a more manageable, as far as consciousness is concerned, a more manageable way of doing it, so that you have a particular goal and you want to deal with that goal. You may want to strike up a conversation or relationship with the tree that you grew up with in your grandmother's backyard, or or talk to the plants, or commune with grass, or whatever you want to do, because the universe, I know many people say, oh, well, the universe is made of love and all of those different type of things, but the universe is made of information, and there's information everywhere. There's more information in a grain of sand than there is in all the computers that exist on Earth. And that's what the next step is, to be able to tap into the informational structures that time and space and all those things don't matter, because you have access to multiple dimensions, ultra dimensions that can be, be part of your life and be part of your existence. So when we're talking about moving together, traveling together, then we get a chance to be there. So I believe our co-host Omalewa is in the house. Are you there, Omalewa?
Yes, I am here. How are you?
I'm good. We're just, of course, as we talked about, talking about traveling with your partner. And I was just saying that, for your significant other or whatever, that you become one and that you travel together. And that's really a special place when, you can get that person in your life and you all are on the same page as far as entheogens are concerned, because some folks, they get partners where, they're all into, mushrooms, DMT, ayahuasca, salvia divinorum, 5-MeO DMT, and all these different compounds that are spectacular, wonderful, and amazing. And then you got a partner who, is in opposition to all of that because of maybe the way that they were raised, or just the propaganda and those type of things. And then you may have had a spouse who has some type of dependency difficulties dealing with drugs, because these and that which I mentioned aren't drugs, they're plants and they're fungi. So they kind of shy away and stay away because they think that this is the same thing, when in reality it's not. It doesn't go to the same or through the same brain pathways. These aren't narcotics. They're not opiates. So they don't hit the same centers of the brain that cocaine or heroin or something like that would hit. These deal with the the neuroreceptor sites in the brain that that augment our behavior, so and our experiences. So this is a really great topic, and glad to have my able and wonderful co-host Omalewa here to chime in. Also, I was telling the people that the last half hour we would take questions, and people could chime in and ask their questions and things like that. So what's your take on partner travel, and what do you for vision, what do you see as some of the things that partners could do while traveling the multiverse together?
Well, first off, I really like the term you used about becoming one consciousness. I think that really hits the nail on the head. A lot of times the English language or words just kind of, they really don't connect us. There really are no words to express sometimes the way we feel. It just can be confusing with the entheogens. Removing the ego, removing the fear, helping you to look past your traumas or your programming. It really allows you to connect on a deeper level with your partner, seeing them vulnerable, seeing them in their raw truth. In many ways you've never seen them before without the mask on. It really takes you to a different place, really being able to see your purpose for the relationship or your role in the relationship outside of this third dimension. well, even looking for ways to explore sex on a deeper level, or lovemaking, or just intimacy.
Oh, yeah.
Looking for ways. Yeah. What you gonna say?
Disagree. No. I was disagreeing. I was just saying, yeah. Keep going.
Yeah, just issues with the family, generational curses. Looking for ways to become a better unit, even with your children. Conceiving children, conscious parenting, looking for new ways to use the mushrooms even as a form of fertility for women. Sometimes there's blockages on other levels or within the body, fear. A lot of things are subconscious, they're programming. We have to even heal and go in to do work with our parents and our ancestors. And this is just really a divine tool to help with that, getting over the mommy and daddy issues, a lot of things that are keeping us from becoming one consciousness.
Yes, definitely. See, these are things that have been kept from the greater population. They've been held in secret societies and guilds and religious structures, and the elite have access to these things and have had access to these things for thousands and thousands of years. And of course, in raw indigenous cultures, they've had access to these compounds, but they utilize them on a different level for different reasons. Many times, a lot of these secret societies and guilds utilize these knowledge bases for power over people, and that is one thing that it's so great about the availability and information that is now, that a person can basically set themselves up to entheogenically travel with their partner, travel with their mate. You can set it up all in-house. You don't have to go to the Water Buffalo Club, secret society, or the Masons, or whatever. And not that Masons don't use their own acacia, because you have many Masons now that have made the connection between the acacia, entheogenics, and Masonry. But it pervades all of the different areas of our lives, And especially in ancient times, when we look at the ancestors, each guild had their particular power plant, of which they went and basically gleaned information from that particular art form or particular vocation. They would go into the higher levels and bring back information on how to do particular things. The blacksmiths, the blacksmithing is just as high, or maybe even higher, than the Masonic group. And you had people who were stick benders. You had people who were carvers, who carved the masks and things like that, drum makers. All of these different type of guilds or vocations or work had their own power plants that they used as far as access. And then to be able to move through different difficulties with your partner in dealing with this, it can also be therapeutic in many different ways, that you can get over things. People getting over not being really intimate and not really being loving. People can get past those things by utilizing these entheogens and these compounds, because it gives you access to not only your own consciousness, but when traveling together, gives you access also to your partner's consciousness, and you can move through the motivations of why folks do the things that they do, or where their hurt was, and how to move past those things and get out of that depressed state. So what you're saying is definitely right on point, and we that's why we're sharing these things.
Yeah, and it's interesting with the synergy. You may have a partner that suffered trauma, and you may process that trauma for them and feel that pain in your body, and to see how it walks around with the grief, and it gives you outlook or inlook into what they deal with day to day, so we can be a little bit more loving or less judgmental or understanding with your partner.
Well, it definitely gives you a vantage point to be able to look at things from a higher level. You know, sometimes even when we're dealing with arguments, we're not really arguing with each other. We could be arguing with past people that have been in our lives that we just haven't rid ourselves of, and going through and dealing with the different entheogens, especially the mushroom. You can, you can purge yourself of those old relationships or old connections and move more fully into the one that you're in that is now significant in your life. It's a place where we can move together, grow together, and slough off many of the negative things that we have accumulated through life. Well, we were talking at the last meetup, which happened to be last evening, and we were just talking about sharing different excursions and sharing the relationship. We really talked about children also, and how advanced they are, and how they're, it's really easy for them to let go and things like that, because they don't have all the baggage that the adults have. So, that was just part of what we were doing last night, as you know. So it's a way to access those parts of us that we may want to deal with in the light of day, to put things out on the table, to be able to move forward from things that we're stuck at, because we're stuck at so many different things that we need to move past, and this will help in especially tripping together at different doses. You can take a
no, you're not tripping. You're not tripping together.
Well,
you're
it's
journeying together. You're exploring together.
A trip exploration. It's not the same as. It's a journey, a trip, going on a place where you're going from one place to another. So I'm saying it in a positive light as far as a trip is concerned. It's just, I guess less letters than journey, but I use journey and trip interchangeably.
And I just say that because we have to be mindful of the vocabulary we use around these subjects.
Yeah,
that's all, you know that.
The baggage. Yeah, the baggage. That's why I always use. I don't just use entheogen, which is the word that was put forth by Carl Ruck. And it means to awaken the God within, or awaken the spiritual within. We still use psychedelic. These psychedelic and trip and all those things have the baggage of the 60s along with it. But I still like to have that traditional language in there to let people know that we're talking about the same things, but we're just talking about it from a different vantage point and a way that we can utilize it, that doesn't have all of the, MK Ultra propaganda behind it, all of the Nixon, Reagan, war on poor people and war on drugs, as they say, but it was really a war on poor people and people who are marginalized around the world. So that's why I try to bring that original language to say that, when I'm saying just entheogen or something like that, people talk about, well, what the heck is an entheogen? It's the same psychedelics that we were talking about in the 1960s that they demonized because it changed behavior. It changed people's consciousness. As I say many times, there was no green movement. Nobody cared about trees or, the environment or any of those different things before the hallucinogens, the psychedelics, the entheogens came into prominence, and I think the lack of that is where we are now. I was on Facebook looking at a post, and I don't know, the post may have, it irked some people because it was a Muslim family that went and got some chicken from McDonald's, and somebody who was an employee, they put bacon on all the chicken sandwiches that they gave to the Muslims, and Muslims don't eat pork. And so the comments behind it are comments that you would think would be on Facebook in the 1930s or the 1920s in Louisiana or down in Alabama or Georgia, something like that. They were like, well, if you can't eat American food, then you need to go back to your country, and those type of things. And you people, you're here, you need to do this and that and all this kind of stuff. Just crazy language. So you want to be able to let people know exactly what you're talking about, and that the things that they think these things were, they weren't that. But it was something that changed behavior, that gave people a different vantage point, And the real reasons why they demonized these compounds, because they're not drugs, was because it changed the behavior. It made people start thinking about the war. They started thinking about make love, not war. I'm not going burning their draft cards, burning their bras, the women burning their bras, the guys burning their draft cards, becoming more natural. Vegetarianism and veganism was, coming into the fore. Yoga, other ways of looking at things. Whereas prior to these psychedelics, entheogens, hallucinogens coming in, people were basically Christian, and you, of course, you had your Jews and Muslims, but folks weren't being Buddhist and Taoist and Baha'i and all these different type of things, because it expanded the horizons of people in contact with other things that they weren't normally in contact with, and saw that, they saw value in these things.
So when you get the divine masculine and the divine feminine together with these power plants and with these entheogens, it really taps you into a greater awareness from when we were one consciousness. So being in that space, connecting again together, and just the downloads that you receive, it definitely puts you in that godlike state. Especially when the children are involved. Now you have the Holy Trinity, which adds another phenomenal piece into that. I recommend even people, because it's not a one-time shot, so you'll use it for various rituals. You may want to do it for an anniversary, just really whatever resonates for you and your spirit, with timing, space, all those things. But even using it as a way to create, whether you're building, whether you want to move your family out of the country, off American soil, and build there, being a power couple and really merging your resources, your knowledge, and, the possibilities are endless with that.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And you're talking about the children being part of it. That's part of, that's the central theme of this year's Women in Entheogens Conference, which we've been talking about for quite a while here. And it's upon us. It's coming up, not this weekend coming up, but the following weekend, the 13th, 14th, and 15th in Cleveland, Ohio. We're having the Women in Entheogens Conference, where women will be talking about entheogens, psychedelics, hallucinogens, and their part and their vantage point of knowledge dealing with entheogens. And it's definitely going to be about, the women's mysteries dealing with birth and all of those different things. Talk a little bit about that, some of the things that be going on. Because they don't want to hear the man talk about the women in entheogens all the time. I won't be speaking. I'm just a man. I'm just a man that's going to be moving the tables and stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's why you all need us. That's why we created you all, right?
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Why not?
You come through a woman, not from a woman. Creation is beyond the understanding of what we have information with right now. Creation is beyond the male and the female and beyond all of that. So yes, you gave birth to us, which was the only way we could get here, but we are pre-birth. We are before the birthing process, before the human, and before the earth and universe in which we exist in.
So you're saying the human was before the earth?
No, the consciousness was before the earth. The human body is the physical body of which we exist in, that the consciousness exists with. But that consciousness, that thing that we truly are, that makes us beyond the physical. Because when we physically move out of this body, we're still here. So souls are called from the soul place to inhabit human bodies and be in a physical state. So yes, the physical state is
the soul place. I said at the portal where the souls come through on my 12-gram journey.
Yes.
I was on my menstrual cycle with that one, and that was just with the work that I do with the placentas, with the birth work and wounds overall. That was one of the experiences, just traveling many times, journeying many times with the entheogens. That one really knocked my socks off. Communicating with the souls that want to come here, and them being different ages or no age at all, and just their intentions for wanting to come here, which some weren't all great or good intentions, So that was just a powerful space. So we'll just elaborate a lot more at the conference. That again, as it is procreation, fertility work, pregnancy, breastfeeding, the postpartum phase. Most people are like, oh, God, wow, you wouldn't want to give that to a child or a growing infant. The DNT already resides in the body. The body is flooded with DNT during birth for both mother and child. Day 49 is when the sex of the child is established, as well as the pineal gland. Just being a birth worker and being in the hospital this week, and they're offering codeine and other opiates to children and to the newborns in utero. No one questions. No one will attack someone online or a Facebook post. If I posted pregnancy and mushrooms, I'm sure my page would get taken down within 24 hours. But when you talk about epidurals and all the other narcotics that they introduce to, again, the newborns in utero is unbelievable. So to do work and travel on both sides of this thing, us as women really have to look deep within ourselves and do this work and do the work with your partner, travel with your children, travel with your sisters, and really get a greater sense of self, a greater sense of being, community, medicine. We truly, we got it like that. And this world is off balance because we haven't taken our rightful place. These herbs, the plants, the mushrooms, the water, the elements, all these things are here to serve us, to serve our highest good and our generations that are coming behind us, our legacy. Universal consciousness, really? And we're talking about classrooms, we're talking about degrees, jobs. Are we really having these conversations? One of the, or I won't even say one, but sitting at that portal, menstrual blood, the spirits, the souls communicating. They were like, really? You guys want us to come down there and you're still immunizing your children? You're still putting us in classrooms? They were like, oh, baby, we're way too grand for that. You guys are going to have to raise your vibration, even the vibration of the planet, before we'll come down here and grace you with our presence. I was like, oh, wow. So that just really put things in a different perspective for me with this work. I'm still processing and seeing how to move forward and work with moms in order so we can raise up to this frequency.
Yeah, well, I heard today with the news that think in Michigan here that a woman a judge was getting ready to send her to jail because she is refusing to vaccinate her child when an order has been put in, because it's basically it wasn't actually the governmental processes that brought her into this or school or anything like that. As her husband, and it's a divorce and a fight between them over the child and things like that. And when these type of things get together, they throw everything in the pot. Okay, well, I know that you don't want the child vaccinated because we were together 12 years before we broke up and we had this child, and I knew your preference on vaccinations. You knew mine. So they threw this in at the trial, and an order was given. So now she's facing jail time today because she is refusing to vaccinate the child. So those type of things happen, but the reality of
firsthand that I've been. Yeah, firsthand I've been in the hospital advocating for unnecessary IVs for 48 hours for babies, and the parents declined, and Child Protective Services came in the door like the police, like the feds. They came in there, and I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Like, here's this woman who only wants to breastfeed her child in peace and give the child nature's best, God's best, giving this baby her best, but they want the chemicals in your baby, they want the toxins, even for those of us who at one point really didn't know better and already have immunized the children. These things spiritually, for me, are things that go in to block your connection with self, to block your connection with your ancestors, with this planet, and the powers that surround us daily. So it's like we have to go in and detox by any means necessary to transform that which we've already injected into the bloodstream of our children, of our offspring. So, just having these conversations, sitting in circle with your significant other, your family, people in your community, it's really time to reevaluate everything that we're doing, because what we're currently doing now, it is not working. It's not working. The earth is crying out. The rocks are crying out. What do we do? Continue to sit here and do the same thing and expect different results? I personally didn't come here for that.
Yeah, well, the thing is that this movement is growing, and it's growing by leaps and bounds. It's growing exponentially. People are coming in. People are trying, and they're getting wonderful experiences with the different compounds and things like that, and they are becoming people who are becoming cheerleaders for this, while their friends, peers, many of their family are looking at them like, oh man, what they doing? They taking LSD? You go to burn your brain up, your brain and your brain on drugs and things like that, when nothing is farther from the truth.
I remember the first time I was introduced to mushrooms, I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I'm like, if it's not cannabis, I don't know about that, and I didn't, and I'm really glad that I didn't, and I wasn't introduced to it in a recreational capacity. Doing it spiritually, in addition to other spiritual work, through the meditation, through the fasting, through keeping your space clean, having the right people in your circle, having a divine partner. Like, all those things are a part of it. Intentions, in some cases. Intentions, setting all those things is like, this is healing and therapy like that most people have never experienced it before. So I understand when people are nervous or fearful about those things, and that's fine. That's okay. I don't press. I don't push. I do want everybody to have the experience, but That's in my perfect world. But outside of that, it's like really digging deep into yourself and knowing that this is definitely one of the answers to your prayers, your positive intentions and things that you put out there. If you're new to this work or just tuning into this blog talk radio, like this is something. This is very meaningful. Write it down, ask questions, solicit the help of your angels or guardians, guides, and take the step, take the leap. You will not be disappointed. But it's not even I don't have to try to sell it or anything. It just is what it is. If you want universal consciousness, Christ consciousness, and all these things, you have direct access to it.
Well, that's that's been a central theme in me sharing for many, many years, that, you have access. You don't have to imagine it or somebody tell you, or deal with false promises, or deal with things that people say that, just aren't true. You can go in real time, face to face, mouth to ear, and encounter and become a part of and have relationships with realms of consciousness that they talk about in legend. And, people really don't understand the power of these things that we're talking about, these entheogens that we're talking about. They don't really understand the power. They would not believe. And that's the biggest difficult, one of the biggest difficulties, hurdles to get over, is that they won't believe that these things are and can do and can deliver transdimensional consciousness, because they've only heard about or dealt with what the media has put forth, and it's been at, like you said, party doses where things are synergized. If you're at the party and the music is bumping and the lights are flickering and things like that, it makes the music that much more fuller. Even with 440 hertz, which is the frequency of which all music was pinned to in 1955. They started in the 30s changing the frequencies from 432 hertz, which is the harmonizing earth transdimensional tone that music was originally put in. But they found that was too liberating. That was changing things. Jazz came about under 432 hertz, and jazz changing things was then broken down to 440 hertz, and it became the international standard in 1955. So everything since 1955 up until today is music that is not wholesome in its frequency as far as your relationship to it. So if you're setting up an excursion with your partner, and you're going to have music, because there's different levels. There's levels where you take a high dose and you don't have nothing. Y'all just get together and hug and meld into one another, become one being, one thing, and you fly off into the multiverse like that. But then there's times where you take, maybe 7 grams or 9 grams, smaller dose, where you have, you may light the candles and put on the incense and have some, if you got a big enough bathtub, both y'all can get in the bath. Y'all get in the bath with some scents and things like,
Yes,
with some,
you should make a very nice ritual.
And put a whole thing behind it where and you play your music, but you want your music to be in harmony with what everything else you're doing. So you want to start utilizing this 432 hertz frequencies as far as music is concerned. So there's not irritating and working against what you're trying to put together for this very, very special time. Which, you take out special times to do this with your partner, and you plan it out, and hey, it's something that can change your consciousness, change the relationship that you're in, the consciousness of the relationship that you're in, and it gives you a purer way of experiencing your partner.
Mhm. Yes, more from a godly perspective, from your higher self, because we can get stuck in ego and behaviors and thought patterns that don't serve our highest good, doesn't serve anybody's highest good, really. So just using that to get past those blockages and barriers that we all have together. Like, that's what you're with your partner for, is to kind of take on the world and, face the battles within ourselves, that, on the inner battles and the outer battles. It'll catapult your relationship, really. But I can only speak from my perspective. I'm sure there are probably instances where the mushrooms work to separate people who need to be separated. Once you can really see clearly beyond your ego and emotions, like, oh, it's over, or it has been over for 10 years ago, and you can move forward from that space. So many people are stagnant in their relationships, their jobs, and all of that. Like, it's time to move forward. It's a new cycle. It's a new beginning. Refreshing your relationship, Make the sacrifice together. Be initiates in this rites of passage unto one another together. Many aren't even connecting sexually, really, so really connecting with your partner. Baba, do you want to talk more about sex?
Well, I mean, that can be a fundamental part of your traveling, that you enter and merge, and from that vantage point, be able to travel together in harmony, with the man entering the woman, and you're both looking into one another's eyes, and you're under the power of the mushrooms. That is where the actual bodies meld into one another, like your liquid or the candle wax, where
what happens if you see something you don't like?
What if you see something you don't like in your partner, or are you talking about in your travels?
Yes. In your travels with your partner.
Freddy Krueger, if you got, you mean in travel with your partner, if you see something you don't like, well, that's when you're.
Because I've heard that. I've heard people say they see people shift in front of their eyes.
Oh, well, yeah, you shift. You can shift. If you shift into Freddy Krueger or, Lon Chaney or something like that, then that's something altogether different. I didn't know you was a wolf. I didn't know you was the wolf man or the wolf woman, But, we have clans that we're part of. That's the whole totemic system. You have the bird people, and you have the wolf people. You have the people that are reptilian.
How would you identify
all these
some of these people?
They'll shift into it.
For instance, a bird person or bird people, what are some identifying traits you may recognize?
That their head turn into a bird. That's where you get the whole Kemetic and the whole area of information from Mesopotamia and Babylon and Akkadian and all of that, where you see they've drawn on the walls the eagle men, where you see where they've drawn on the walls, where the man has a man's body, but the head of a bird. You have a woman's body, but you have the head of a cow. These are not just fantasies that they made up. These are part of those same type of relationships that they encountered and experienced under the influence of the same things that we're talking about now. This is where they saw these things. This is where they saw these people. This is where they encountered these entities. And many of us are connected to these different houses, to these different places of power that contain these beings. And many of us are part of those constructs, are part of those families, the serious, the dog star, you know, those type of things. That's where the whole concept of the vitch or the witch or the bitch comes from. You know, it doesn't have to do with the it has to do with the dog people, the dog men, the dog women, the wolf man, the wolf woman, from the dog star and and those planets in that constellation. So, but that doesn't mean that a person's negative or evil. That just means they're hooked to those houses, and they may shift into those things, and you may see them shift into those things under the influence. But then you got some other stuff that you may see as far as entities or negative influences in the auric field of that person. In other words, you know, you may have some little monster, you know, you got a migraine headache and you don't know why you got the migraine. You're having migraine headaches all your life or something like that. And you got some little gremlin connected to your doggone spinal column and his teeth in the top of your head. So those type of things can be on occasion seen under the influence. And you know, and access and know that this is not just a physical problem that, okay, well, you got it because of stress, but there's an actual little griffin, a little gnome or something like that with its teeth, entity with its teeth in your head. And that is a way, if you see it and you have access to it, then you can, on many levels, deal with it. And that's why when you have those things like essential oils and flower tinctures and things like that are on a more subtle level that can banish these things or banish them with your own power. If you see it, you know, you get your out my doggone forehead, you know, and that type of
well,
thing.
You know,
so
I want to interject.
Yeah.
That's why it's important. Well, I really want to say two things, but it's very important for you to enter this work, preferably. I'm getting feedback. Do you hear that sound?
No, I don't hear it.
It must be a little entity on my phone wire chewing on it. No, I'm kidding.
Go ahead.
Okay, it's sounding crazy and you're echoing. What I was going to say is going into this work purposefully with intentions and having these conversations with your partner and really seeing how they feel about it. Are they fearful? What are their concerns? And kind of getting those questions answered the best way you know how. You know, reach out to myself, reach out to Baba. But I also want to say that sometimes traveling with your partner, you might not like it.
You might not.
You may not like it because sometimes you may be in a deep healing space on your own and your partner may laugh. Your partner may cry. Your partner may not want to be in the dark. They may want to be in the light or go outside, and that's really what you're not feeling. So you really have to feel it out and see how am I going to go about this. We know how our partners are, you know, or just going into the space too, but just being mindful. Oh, well, Bob and Omalewa said I should travel with my partner. But it's like you have to think about that. Really think about your partner, who you're with. Is this someone you're looking to stay with? Is this someone you're looking to part ways with? You may want to hold that space for one another first, you know, before you go into that space together. So don't just jump into this thing. Really fill it out. Because, again, some people may not want to reveal themselves or reveal their full truth, you know.
Well, I don't think you should, So, go ahead, go ahead.
You know, you have people who have suffered, you know, different traumas, sexual traumas, you know, different things that they may be embarrassed to share with their partner, and you really want to be in a space of truth. Again, it's not going to be a one-hit wonder. You're going to have to keep going in and digging deeper and removing those masks from yourself, holding that space for your partner without judgment. You know, if you may throw up, is your partner going to hold your hair? Even in that, you need to still be aware and mindful of who's holding this sacred space for you, you know, because you're opening up yourself in ways like never before.
Well, the thing is that you wouldn't want to go do your first trip as partners. Oh, we got these mushrooms, let's do them together. That type of thing. You don't really want to. You don't really want to do the first time together. That doesn't mean that there's no set rules that you can't do that, and I'm saying you can't do it, and all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying it ain't the best idea to do it together the first time.
But you know what, Baba? You know how I am about it. That's your opinion, though. It's gonna happen the way it needs to happen for individuals. Like I have a family that I work with. Every time that they've traveled, they've done it together, and they're having some powerful transformations and healing and pulling back the layers. And now she's pregnant. So I'm just really grateful for them and seeing how this work is helping their family to grow. But even in that, I recommend it, like, honey, you still have to go in by yourself because you exist without this person.
And that's why
so sometimes even in that, we can use it as a crutch.
Going in yourself first is to establish your own relationship with the plants and then come together.
Yes, but it's not always going to be that way.
Well, I didn't say it's going to always be that way. I said that's not how it always happens. That's not how it's always going to be. But, that's just one of the ways. Some folks are going to do it together and do it together always. I don't think doing it together always is I think you should do it by yourself also, because that's where your deepest work is gonna come in.
The truth is.
If when you're going in, there are places that you won't visit when there's someone else there, and those places you have to visit alone. So, it's all good. It's going to happen the way it's going to happen. And then, like you were saying earlier, it's not a one-shot deal. It's not where one person, where, okay, I take this and now, okay, I'm free. Now I can, do everything. It's not like that. It's still a work. It's still an art form. It's the way to do it. It's kind of like DMT when you're smoking DMT. To really get a breakthrough with DMT, there's a technique to it. There's an art to it. There's a way that you do it. So some people may have to practice. Some people can get the directions and hit it on the first try. Some people, it takes time for them to be able to relax, for them to be able to do the things that are necessary, to be able to hold it in, to be able to not get overwhelmed when you have to take the last hit, And these things, although there are similarities that are there are many distinctions that separate these different compounds from one another. We were talking about LSD, and some of the folks, they were talking about how wonderful it is, and LSD is wonderful. It is a challenging compound. It will give you and get you access into wonderful experiences.
What makes it challenging?
Well, the challenge is being in a different realm of consciousness. We've been stuck, except for a few times in our lives, where we may have that dream that's more vivid than others, or just more real than real, or we may have that epiphany, that time where things are just, everything is working together in a synergistic and relationship with everything else that's happening in space and time and consciousness. And then, you want to be able to put those things in their proper perspective, because like I said, it's not a one-shot deal. It is a work of art. It is a merging of your understanding into how these things go about and make you more conscious of your, make you more conscious of how you live your life and approach the multiverse, So, hey, it's great.
You want to take a caller, Bella?
We're gonna go a little while longer. and see what's happening. Most people aren't. A couple of folks they just want to hang out and listen. Folks seem to be listening and not really um, having any questions. But that's cool too, because we're here and we're gonna keep it moving. You know, um, when you're flying through and downloads are coming and you're both getting the same downloads from the multiverse and things are coming faster than light and you have superluminal consciousness and you're going through wormholes and time is becoming accessible inside of these type of things. The whole science fiction genre of the world is passing before your eyes, and those things that are beyond the science fiction genre of the world are passing before your eyes, and you're liquid with one another. You can be poured into a glass, and there'd be no separation of the cells of the mind, the consciousness, and things like that. It's just a wonderful feeling to be truly one, and that's where that whole thing of the marriage comes in, the true marriage of being able to be one consciousness and one flesh and think in the other one's head and think with the other one's mind, and to be able to experience that other person on levels that are so far beyond the mundane that we experience day to day. It puts you in the God realms, especially with these God doses. Coin a new term, the God dose, from the heroic dose to the God dose.
Oh goodness, they're all God doses. They are all God doses. Don't you even do that?
Well, party doses don't usually deliver the God type experience. They don't usually deliver the God-like experiences, but 25 grams.
You can't gauge that with a God dose for somebody.
I can gauge it. I just made it up. I made up the God dose. They had the heroic dose, so I'm saying the God dose. That's my new coin term. So,
So you have
I'm not saying what people
dose if you.
Huh?
So what amount of dried grams of psilocybin do you consider to be the quote-unquote God dose?
Well, everybody's consciousness is different. People experience things on different levels. I may go to the Pleiades with 5 grams, and somebody else may go to the Pleiades with 3 grams. But the thing is that when you get what I talk about all the time, access, how much further than the Pleiades would you go with 5 grams as opposed to my being at the Pleiades at that and yours being at 3? Where would you go with 5? So my thing is that it's the dose is, it's not so much that once you get to a accessible dose to me is 15 grams and above, and it moves exponentially past that. In other words, the experience at those higher doses, they diverge from those lower doses. There's nothing that
Okay, but what about
you can tell
how
anybody.
do people get access? Most people don't have access to 30 and 40, 50 grams. Or these so-called God.
Folks get what they want, and if they're getting 5, they'll move to a point. It may not be this year, it may not be next year. They'll get to a point, if they think that this is the necessary thing that they want to do, they'll get to the point to where they can do those 25 and 30 gram doses. That's not something that you do every 2 weeks or something like that. You may do a dose like that once a year, or maybe twice a year. Or you may do it once and say, I ain't never going to do that again.
Well, I would think with the
go back to 5 grams. You go back down to 5 grams and hang out at the 5 grams for the rest of your life. It may be that. But the thing is that those high doses are special, and you need special time for them. You need to try to prepare yourself as best you can, walking past the refrigerator with mushrooms in there saying, I'm going to do that high dose this weekend. And then you get to this weekend, it's like, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'll wait 2 more weeks, because they can be challenging, but the access that they give is beyond the imagination. It's beyond what you could have thought about in your own consciousness. There's no way you can make it up. That's why people say, well, is this real, or this is just part of your consciousness? Your subconscious mind is flooding into your forefront consciousness, and you're just, you're dealing with experiences that you have. No, you can deal with experiences from a billion years ago, or a billion years in the future, or even a place where time has no meaning. This is what we're talking about when we're talking about these God dose, entheogenic doses that I'm talking about. And you don't get
lower doses, time doesn't exist.
Huh? What'd you say?
I said even with the lower doses, time doesn't exist. So for me, with this work, I'm just really about it all being obsessed. Am I still on?
Yeah, you're still on.
Okay, my phone is on. You know me, I'm all about it. It's all about the individual. Our soul's work is pretty much individual. It's going to be unique for you. Your experience is unique. Everyone who's heard me talk about this before, I always relate it to birth. Birth and the entheogenic medicine, the mushrooms, are so similar. So similar. And in that, when you give birth, your pregnancy, everything is going to be unique for you. We can sit around and share birth stories all day and night. But everybody's is going to be different. You'll have some common themes. But, Baba's God dose, yours may be less, yours may be higher than Baba. Now what?
Well, I know that, you have, everybody, of course, is an individual, as you said, and everybody doesn't react to doses at the same rate. But once you flood those serotonin receptor sites, once you flood them, you get to the God dose, in my opinion. Unflooded serotonin receptor sites are still pre-God dose.
Oh, goodness.
So
you're not going to worry me.
I ain't going to worry nobody, I'm gonna just keep going. I know when I go to New York, the Empire State Building there, and when you go to New York, the Empire State Building be there. You may have some folks who go to New York and the Empire State Building ain't there. A little Mandela effect. We're not gonna get on the Mandela effect this week.
Don't you start.
But
that.
But we do have coming up the Women in Entheogens Conference, not this weekend, but next weekend, 13th, 14th, 15th in Cleveland, Ohio, to continue the legacy and in honor of our dear, wonderful sister, Kai Wingo, who put it together.
Pioneer.
She's sister to Goddess, yeah, all of that. She was and is the queen of the multiverse, I'd say, and she is still in our lives. She will be there at the conference, and the conference is going to be monumental. We're talking about things that they won't talk about anyplace else. That's why we don't have those sponsors. But the thing is that we're going to be pushing the envelope. We're going to be pushing the envelope.
The universe is our sponsor. We're so much bigger than some of this petty, mundane stuff. And this is not just the Women in Entheogens Conference. This is a movement.
Yes.
This is a complete movement. Yes. We're talking about shifting everything that we've been programmed, everything we've been taught to believe, and redefining this experience for ourselves.
Most definitely. And
we give birth to babies. We have menstrual blood that comes from our womb. So it's like we're already tapped in. We're already natural shamans. So it's only right that, again, the outer reflects the inner. I'm echoing. Yeah. I'm sorry.
And we and you know, we need you to come on out, register on Eventbrite. It's 2017 Women in Entheogens Conference. It's very affordable. Come on out, especially the Cleveland family. Come on out, and Detroit family is going to be pulling up. I got some calls from Dayton today and things like that, and other places in Ohio. But you don't have to, folks go. If you was going down to, the Cincinnati Jazz Festival,
Mama,
the music festival.
Stop doing that. Stop doing that. Outside of that,
come on out for Frankie Beverly and Mays. Come on down for Frankie Beverly and Mays. We're gonna have a group singing too. So come on down. It's a great.
Outside of that, I would like to say, you may not want to come or attend, or you may not even be interested, but you may know someone who could greatly benefit from this work that may be dealing with any type of womb trauma, and not that it's all about trauma or healing, but that's just currently the space where many of us are stagnant or trying to get certain breakthroughs. So you may want to gift someone with the ticket to the conference as well. Bring a friend. I don't know, Bob, if you have any rates for group packages and things like that. Bring your sister group, anyone who you feel would or could benefit from this work.
We'll work to get everybody in, up until the capacity of the building, that is. But on a serious note, this is work that we're part of. We like people to come out because it's a worthy endeavor. It's a worthy. It's a way of communicating with other people who are part of this movement and are willing to share their experiences and their knowledge and information, especially in the work that is so much needed in dealing with wanting to have a baby, working that through properly, what's happening while the baby is growing inside of the mother, and how the baby comes out, and in what environment the baby comes out into, and then what happens after the baby's out. Yeah, what happens after the baby is out? Making sure that baby is in contact with the mother and breastfed and all of those things, and then the mother's consciousness afterwards, and the baby's consciousness after all that whole thing is just beginning phase of relationship of life once the baby's out. So.
And with that, the babies are requiring the parents to level up more. The babies, the souls, are requiring this work to be done. So just being in that space, like, I personally really I talk about it, I share, but it's about doing the actual work, like this real work, this real paradigm shifting work. We're not going to be able to talk about it. We're not going to be, possibly able or want to go to the conferences and speak and share this. I'm going to be sharing this with you telepathically. You're going to be feeling my energy and vibes and the world shifting around you, because that's just how deep it is. Words aren't going to be enough.
Yeah. Well, it's a great endeavor. We're going to have a good time. We're going to celebrate. Kai. We're going to celebrate the actual conference itself. We're going to have the lectures and panels and information that are part of what we're trying to share with people and things like that.
I'll be doing a growing demonstration as well, a cultivation demonstration for those who may be interested in cultivating their own sacred medicine. That's always best. Just to have a hand in.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, you need to be able to grow your own, and that's going to be a great workshop. And that's how you get into those 20 and 30 gram trips, and having enough to be able to do that, because you're growing your own in the comfort of your own home.
That, and being able to assist people around you as well. It's not about self. This is about community. Again, our legacy. So some people need the shifting that are dealing with the depression, that are dealing with the addictions, who are just lower level energy people. And even with that, we're not trying to save everybody. You only can save yourself. So if people aren't functioning on the same frequency as you, we have to level up out of here. And that's where I am personally in this work. I mean, man, I'm having such profound experiences and revelations and breakthroughs and clarity and wisdom and everything. It's like, so when you come out of it, what next? So that's where so many people are now, like, whoa, wow, I've tapped into my Akashic records and this and that. What now? Everybody's still going to work 9 to 5. Everybody is on the hunt for a master degree. Master for what? And your quality of life is low. So a lot of us are doing this work, and you come out and it's your surroundings. That's like me. I have to be on land. I have to be where I can dance and cultivate my medicine and cultivate the earth and just be, so making those shifts to where we need to be and where we're going, to stop talking about it and really be about it.
Well, the thing is that we need to step up our game on all the different levels. And as far as the entheogens are concerned, we need to start bringing more people in. We need to step up our game. We need to start traveling more, being able to just get a chance to do this honorable work. Whereas many times people had thought that this was just something as an escape. No, it's not an escape. It's something that delivers a fuller and richer experience of the soul inside of a body. It gives you access to be able to explore not only your own consciousness, but your partner's consciousness and the many realms and worlds of knowledge and information that are available to all of us. There's no big person, little person, no experts, no masters. None of that is part of this
None
work.
of that.
We're all part.
This is the most humbling thing, very humbling work. So when you find the people that are out there with the ayahuasca, people message me, I consult people and things like that, and there are some people out there that aren't using it in its proper context, and they're creating cults. There's a brother somewhere in Texas who's impregnating women, using not so much using the ayahuasca, but once they're open and sharing their experiences and their traumas, people can use that against you. So it's very important to use the discernment. Like this, with the entheogens, it's really just showing you. So if you're fearful, you're scared you're going to see monsters or demons or have this bad experience, it's just you. So reevaluating what that looks like, where you're going, who are you, really, without the degrees, without the trauma, without worrying about what other people think. Who are you, really?
Well, the thing is that, yes, you do have people who have been utilizing these things negatively, and they're not the majority of people. But, with all good, there's some bad, and there's always some negativity or someone that wants to use something negatively. And that's why you keep it with and people that you love and care about, things like that. This is a family way of experiencing and being. It should.
Yeah, it's all about
flow
family.
Into your children. Yeah, it should flow into your children and people sharing it with their parents who would never have known about these things because they come from a different time, a different paradigm of thought and things like that. And especially many times when people see something and they think you're doing something negative, when in reality you're doing something of a very positive and high nature. Once people start looking at the change of how this thing is, where it's not looked at like, okay, well, this person's this person's a dope fiend, or this person is uh, taking drugs or something like that. When it becomes, oh, well, this person's taking mushrooms. Oh, well, they must be working on their spirituality, or they must be working on their consciousness and things like that. And that's the type of mindset that we want people to bring to mind when they start dealing with mushrooms and DMT and things like this. That, oh, this person is challenging themselves to be better, to be more, to see from a higher vantage point. And these are all things that the mushrooms bring. So it's a great endeavor, a great work that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that it's available to the just average, working person, or the person that is, they're not no big time spiritual person or anything like that, but just the average person in the comfort of their own home once a month, going into the realms of the possibility of all things, and meeting the entities and creatures, and seeing exotic places and faraway galaxies, and through multiple dimensions, and
see,
it's Star Trek type stuff.
Well, I don't know nothing about no Star Trek, but the powers that be want you to be average, and that's the thing. Many people are walking around with this average, almost like a costume or disguise, but they're very powerful leaders, doctors, scientists, medicine women, shamans, teachers, agriculturalists, all these things, but they're just bound with being average, with the programming that's available, maybe with the consciousness of your mother, maybe things that may have taken place in the womb. So, yeah, we're so beyond average coming here as souls in this human body. So really exploring that thing, whether you're dealing with disease, infection, all types of things, people are able to go within themselves and see what that looks like for them, Some people purging, mucus, bowel movement, urinating, women having fluid release, like they're giving labor in a spiritual sense. I've even given birth to myself, So it's really deep work. Again, it's almost like you can't even explain it. But one thing with that, though, is sharing. With it having the negative stigma or negative connotation to it, people are like, oh, I don't want to tell anybody, or, oh, they might think this or that. But when something bad happens, you tell the whole world about it. You repeat it for 10 years, the same thing over and over again. So why can't we begin to share how it's helped women with the birth of their stillborn, or through endometriosis, or through infertility? Let's talk about it. Let's start having the conversations in your community. We have the website, DetroitPsychedelics.com. We have a Contact Us link. You may want to leave information. You may want to leave a story. Maybe we'll share that. Maybe we'll have you on the show so you can expound on it more about how the entheogens have transformed your life and those around you.
Well, the
time
thing
to
is,
change the program, and we get to decide what that looks like.
Yeah. Well, it's all about, once folks start having the experiences, and whatever level you have the experiences at, that there's something more. I'm not sparking or pushing for everybody to take 30 grams of mushrooms. Well, I mean, that would be nice, but the thing is that whatever you
why would that be nice?
Why would what? The 30 grams?
Do you think most people can handle 30 grams with their life, or their reality, or their perception of reality being snatched from under them? And
well,
that was one thing I found.
Well, your reality is, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get your reality knocked out from under you. And that's what the 30 grams does. So yeah. Yeah,
but there's
definitely
less doses that still do that for the individual, but you do want to tread lightly, because some people have such intense occurrences take place for them that sometimes they can come out and feel a little I really don't want to say confused, but sometimes confused or unstable. So even with the integration period, it's just like birth. Oh, I'm pregnant. Oh, well, what about the labor? What's that going to be like? But what about when the baby is here? How about being a mother, being a parent, breastfeeding? The nights where you didn't sleep, like you didn't think about that. And how do you plan and prepare and be stable in that space? So
Well,
don't just jump into no 30-gram God dose because Kilindi says so.
Well, Kilindi's always said that. He's always said that you go up incrementally. And yes, that's called life, and that's called a challenge, and that's called what you are and who you are and how you grow and how you meet the challenges. No, it's not for everybody, because everybody's not going to meet the challenge. But for those that have the wherewithal to go into the dark lands, into the deep lands, and see how far the rabbit hole goes, because, some folks are only in this for the healing or the sparkles and the light part of it. But to be true to yourself, you have to go in all the places that are available for us to go to. And that's the dark places, and that's the deep places, and that's in the places that scare you and that are horrible. All of those things challenge us to become more powerful, to become more cognizant of what this thing really is, because what this thing really is not what we think it is or expect it to be. It's more information, as I said earlier, in a grain of sand than all of the computers that have existed since the beginning of time. We are so much bigger and so much more powerful. And how do you gauge and understand that powerfulness that you are? It is by challenging yourself. It's not by going into the places that are fun and that you can handle. It's just like going to the, you go to the corner playground, and you slide down the slide. And that's, okay, that's a challenge. It's the first time you do it when you're 2 years old. But then you can go to Disney World or Disneyland and get on the big slide or the big roller coaster, and you challenge yourself with that. And then some folks go skydiving, and they challenge themselves with that. And then some folks are preparing at some point in time maybe to go to Mars and live the rest of their lives on Mars. But on a long Saturday night with those high entheogenic doses, and like I said, you don't jump out there into them the first time. And some people will never go that far. Some people will stay at the lower doses, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying what you do with your behind and your mind is your business. But those who have the wherewithal, who have the wherewithal, and who want to push it to really see what this thing is, what I want to see what this thing really is about. What's behind the veil? Who's that back there pulling the levers? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to see.
So who is back there pulling the levers? Did you see it with the guy though?
I don't know.
Or was it the Wizard of Oz thing?
I don't know. I don't know who back there pulling the lever. If I knew that, then it wouldn't be no problems.
That's interesting, because one of my journeys, it was like I was like cracking up laughing. You go through these periods of crying your eyeballs out, just purifying, just purging. And then you go through those laughter phases, which just feels so beautiful, because you can literally feel your DNA being reprogrammed and the cells just percolating and perking up and everything. But I was in the space and I was laughing, and it was like I went into this room. It was like the they room. We're always, well, they think this and they're going to do that and they. This room was like this. It had like cobwebs and old furniture, and it was just empty, and no one had been in it for a long time. But it was like, I just thought it was hilarious. Like, there is no they. Nothing is in there. So I just thought that was in my journey. I just thought it was the most hilarious thing, because we put all our power in these certain spaces, and there ain't no dang going they out there.
Well, when you say that there ain't no this or there ain't no that, then we know that
it's gonna come.
It probably is.
Look forward to my next journey. They be like, oh, we wasn't in that room. We was in this room. You went to the wrong. I'm gonna be like, Baba. You was looking in the name room. This is the dem room.
That's when
I'm
that's
kidding,
when
I'm kidding.
that's when you hit. Yeah. Well, that's when you know, it's like, you know, one of my children being born, we were at the hospital, and it was this one girl there who, she was having contractions, and, you know, it was chaotic all through the hospital and stuff like that, and or that floor, you know, the birthing floor. Some women were screaming, "Give me something," and all that kind of stuff, and she was just sitting back, sucking her teeth and clicking her fingernails, you know, and stuff like that. And I don't know what I'm having contractions. I don't know what they doing. I don't know what they're talking about, because, you know, it ain't that bad. And then one of them real contractions kicked in. She raised up off the bed. It was like, "Give me, where the shot at?" You know, so it's always something out there when you think you in it and you ain't really in it until you really get in it. But we coming to the last of our show. I'd like to thank Omalewa for
no callers?
being in.
No callers, Baba?
No, we see here. We went past. Let's get a couple in before we go. We gotta.
Maybe we can grab at least one or two.
Yep. The 7483. The last four numbers. You're on there. Did you have a question? A quick comment?
Hello?
Yeah. How's it going? You got a question, a quick comment?
Oh, hey, Brother Kilindi. I was just trying to see what has changed as far as your view of God or the all, or, you know, since you started with your Entheogenic, what has changed? How has it?
I think I turned that average colloquial God gene off. Then I kind of excised it, because the concept that is God that we think of, that's in my reality is not happening. There is a place, a something, but it's not the concept of God that we have. And the consciousness, the true consciousness, is all that there is. And it is trying to learn about itself, where it came from, you know, because if you've always been here, where did you come from? That's a concept of a circular concept that is difficult to deal with in a rational mind. But the whole God concept of is some big person out someplace controlling everything. No, I believe and deal with. I believe that concept left me many decades ago. You know, so all of the extra dimensional, transdimensional, powerful beings. You know, let us take the L's. The L's are a family of multidimensional gangsters, roll up planets where people are primitive, and they, you know, turn on the speakers and fly around in a helicopter and turn on some lights where people have never seen lights or helicopters or anything like that, and make the people want to deify them, and they relish in that. They relish and they eat energy. So that's not part of my area of even looking at anymore. Thanks very much for calling. Peace.
Well, thank you. You guys have a blessed evening.
You too.
All right.
Question real quick. Well, we don't have a question real quick. Sorry. We're getting ready to go off. We do take donations to keep the program running, so we can get all the slick stuff on the program. So please donate. It could be 10 up to 10 million at Kilindi@hotmail.com. We'll have our link for Bitcoin and other things in the coming weeks. So KILINDI@hotmail.com. You can PayPal there. Come on out to the Women in Entheogens Conference coming up the 13th, 14th, and 15th. I'd like to thank my co-host, Omalewa, for chiming in and helping out and doing all the things that she does in the female persuasion of the Entheogens. Come on out and hear these sisters talk. It's going to be great. So we'll be signing off here. You'll know the topics coming up real soon. Thank you very much and have a great and grand evening. Peace.